to see you, Mr. Willard.
Happy Merry Christmas. January 1st. You say, we good? Good evening. The meeting of the Board of Adjustment for the Borough of Somerville for December 3rd, 2025 will please come to order. Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meeting Act has been that on May 18th, 2025, a copy of the notice specifying the date, time, and location was posted on the bulletin board outside of Borough Hall, given to the clerk administrator, mailed, faxed, or emailed to the Courier News, placed on the Borough website. If any member believes that this meeting is being held in violation of the Open Public Meeting Act, please state your views at this time. These proceedings are of a judicial nature. Only those items on the agenda will be discussed, and only questions and answers related to agenda items will be honored. Next item, roll call.
Chairman Adair.
Here.
I don't know if you have my microphone.
I don't know. I'll call my grandkids to see. There a 5-year-old out here?
Got it.
right.
Chairman Adair.
Here.
Vice Chairman Ed Allat.
Here.
Roberta Carpenitz is
Excuse-
excused this evening. Morgan McLaughlin. Here. Rich O'Neill.
Here.
Brian Vidimski.
Here.
John Flores.
Here.
Alternates Eric Alvarez is not either here yet or excused. And Stuart Daniels.
Here.
Would someone like to move that Eric's absence be recorded as excused?
I'll move that. He's in Florida.
Yeah.
Second it.
Lucky.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item. Okay, Kevin, what we got?
We have the regular session minutes of October 15, 2025.
I'll move him.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. The fifth item on the agenda is Resolution of 2024-012Z, Viremar LLC, 131 North Gaston, Block 36.01, Lot 14.
Mikey, where's Cliff?
Yeah.
I don't know. We can find out after we look at these resolutions.
Yeah, let's get the resolution.
Yeah.
Someone like to move it?
I do have a copy of the resolution in front of all of you. If it's not sitting on the dais, it's sitting on the granite countertop.
Okay, someone like to move the resolution?
I'll second it.
Moving second, roll call, please.
The eligible folks on this is Ed Allat, Roberta's not here, Rich O'Neill, John Flores, and John Flores. So we'll be calling those names. Ed Allat.
Yes.
Richard O'Neill.
Yes.
John Flores.
Yes.
Carried. Okay,
The following item is 2025-013Z, Zahaj Patel, 79 3rd Street, Block 59, Lot 10. Resolution.
I have one tweak. I do believe that there was no parking variance. They were doing the on-site driveways for both
Yes.
right.
parcel. I do believe it says there was a parking variance in here, so I'd like to see that tweaked, the language, just to say there's no parking variance for that.
Yeah, they were gonna build a driveway.
They're building a driveway and extending the driveway on the existing house
Right.
to comply with the parking requirement.
Yeah, he's coming along with that.
Yeah, right.
Someone like to move it?
I'll move it with the deletion of the parking.
Yeah.
A second.
Moving second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Art Adair.
Yes.
Ed Allat.
Yes.
Morgan McLaughlin.
Yes.
Rich O'Neill.
Yes.
John Flores.
Yes.
Brian Vidimski.
Yes.
And Stuart Daniels.
Yes.
Hey, Cliff.
My apologies.
I thought it was,
Lower the chair.
I thought it was Willis Reed coming in for the last game.
Thank you just the same.
The sixth item on the agenda is the application hearing 2025-017Z, Top Asian Fusion Incorporated, 156 North Gaston Avenue, Block 83, Lot 10.
This is an appeal? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nah, sorry, the parking's.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Mike Ogrodnik. I'm an attorney at Savo Schalk Law Firm here in Somerville. I'm here on behalf of Top Asian Fusion, which is a current tenant that's been a tenant since the January 1st of 2025 at the old social restaurant. This is an application for appeal of the zoning officer's denial dated August 14th, 2025 pursuant to NJSA 4055D-70A. The August 2025 denial prevented the continuation of a longstanding permitted restaurant use that was subject to a full site plan review in 2012. The application for the new Asian restaurant proposes no changes to the site plan, the structure, or the layout. The sole change is a removal of the Western-style range and the installation of an Eastern-style kitchen, which includes a wok station and duck smoker under a new exhaust hood. I've handed out an exhibit which I'd like to mark as A1. And if you look at, just to kind of jump ahead a little bit, if you look at Schedule D, you'll see a photograph taken by our client that shows the kitchen as it existed when they took over the lease in January of 2025. And if you look at the next page, Exhibit E, you'll see the improvements that are underway that convert this kitchen from a Western-style kitchen to an Eastern-style kitchen. For a little more detail, we've added a schematic that breaks down the removal of the ovens and the ranges and replaces them with a rice cooker, 2 deep fryers, a new 6-burner range, a new broiler, Chinese, it says new Chinese, whole woks, new hot plate, and at the end, there's a smoking station for duck. Those are the extent of the changes that are proposed. However, the zoning officer determined that site plan would be required for the changes to the kitchen. So they've been occupying since January of last year, and they have been unable to operate based upon the denial that required a full site plan. So we're appealing that decision, okay? And we feel, there's a couple of reasons we feel that it's exempt for site plan review. So your ordinance at 10241 states, I'm just gonna paraphrase the important parts, site plan approval when required prior to the issuance of a building permit, demo permit, sign permit, zoning permit, or certificate of occupancy for any development. A final site plan application shall be submitted to and approved by the resolution to the board in accordance with the requirements of this article, et cetera, et cetera. Notwithstanding the above, the following developments shall be exempt from the requirement of site plan review and approval. Subsection 2, a proposed interior alteration not involving a change of use, nor involving any exterior site improvements. And number 3, which we also think is relevant, is maintenance and repair of existing improvements. The applicant is requesting that the board reverse the zoning official's interpretation that the kitchen alteration and sign location require a full site plan, or in the alternative, grant any necessary relief or variances. This is a property that, as if you remember, and I do, when this was Ciao Bella, and there was a pretty substantial rehabilitation that was completed after a 2012 planning board application. When Social Italian Restaurant came in, they built the bar, they redid the exterior, and they made other improvements to the site, significant improvements to the site, parking, et cetera, lighting. This is a restaurant that's located in the B4 zone where restaurant use is a permitted use. Again, the proposal is a mere transition from the restaurant use Italian to another restaurant use with no new structures or site modifications proposed to the footprint or the exterior of the building. Obviously, the change in cuisine doesn't trigger the change in use requirement under 10228B2, and the use remains restaurant to restaurant. The restaurant use was previously approved for the property, and the application is consistent with the zoning ordinance, the prior approvals, and the redevelopment plan. Before I get into some of the legal argument related to why I don't think this requires site plan, I think a little bit of testimony would be helpful. We have Molly Chang, which I'd ask her to be sworn in. Sit right here, turn this on.
Mr. Bogradnik, I swear,
Of course, yeah.
would you stand and raise your right hand? You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the record, ma'am.
Molly Chang, C-H-A-N-G.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bogradnik?
Thank you. Molly, so tell me, it was about a year ago when we started to talk about this project, right?
Yes.
Mr. O'Grady, what's her position with the,
I'm actually the manager there.
Okay, yeah, she's operations manager for Top Asian Fusion Inc. So we know that Social closed down, and my understanding is they sold their liquor license, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and
And this all started last October.
last October, okay, and then we negotiated a lease for the commercial space.
Correct.
And the lease, as I recall, it was for 2 months, it was started on January 1st, 2026, is that correct?
Yes.
And there were 2 months free rent, correct?
Yes.
And,
Because the owner didn't feel like there was a lot of changes being made. It was just the conversion of the kitchen, so they gave us a two-month
Okay.
renovation time.
and then, beginning in March 2025, the rent commencement
Correct.
was required under the lease, right?
Correct.
And that's $11,000 a month, is that correct?
Yes, $11,000.
There's also common area maintenance fees, utilities, et cetera.
Yes, yes.
And what are those total?
Utility being that it's not in operation, it's just to have the lights turn on, everything else, including security, fire alarm system that's connected to the fire department. It runs at zero with no operation, about $3,900 a month.
Okay. And so what did you do to start to prepare the restaurant for its new life as an Asian restaurant?
We had an architect come in. Basically, the only work that we had to do was in the kitchen. Everything else in the dining area was cosmetic. We took away the soda machines, this and that, here and that, but that's all cosmetic stuff. The only thing we did in the dining area was just paint. It went from red and white to green. So the only thing we did was paint. Nothing else done.
And then-
There's a basement. Nothing done. It was the office and still is the office. And just the kitchen. The only thing work was done was in the kitchen.
Okay, so in the kitchen, I understand, having visited there yesterday with you, New appliances, basically,
But
right?
yes, all new appliances, everything was deteriorated. Keep in mind, it's about 15 years old. I don't think they really kept anything in good condition. So we ended up having to throw everything out.
Right, and so
And
now
replace.
there's all new,
Yes. all
ready
new.
to be installed.
Yes.
And then at a certain point, you know, because of the different styles of kitchen, it was necessary that you expanded the hood area to handle all those wok stations, correct?
Correct. The hood, actually, in, I would say, first week of February this year, yeah, it started to snow, and it was leaking through the vent system, the hood, that was outside the building. So the whole thing was so corroded that it started to leak and drip, and it was like raining inside. So we figured that since ultimately we were gonna replace it, instead of just having it keep leaking and rust away, we just ended up replacing it
Okay.
at that time.
And,
And the hood needed to be changed, expanded.
right, so the hood, my understanding was about 12 feet, and it's now doubled inside roughly?
We did, yeah, 11 more feet onto it.
Okay, and that handles the wok station and the
Yeah,
duck,
it's
the duck
correct.
smoker?
Yes, it used to be just in the center over their stove. Now we went from end to end, so
And-
that it covers everything.
And how much money do you think that you've invested so far in
So
this
far,
location?
just in renovation alone, we're looking at 130,000.
Okay,
And not including the new hood that has to come in. That's another about 45,000.
okay. And at some point, you were advised that you needed to apply for a CO, correct?
Yeah, we were told that later on, but we didn't think we needed one because it's no change in use. It's still a restaurant.
Okay. And you haven't been, and
No.
my understanding is that you applied and the zoning permit was denied.
Everything was denied.
Right, we asked for a temporary certificate of occupancy and that was denied as well?
Everything was
Okay.
denied, yes.
And so here we are on the
Here we
appeal
are.
of that zoning officer's denial. I have no further questions for Molly, if any.
Anyone from the board have any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Were there any structural changes made?
No, no,
No.
no,
There's,
none at all.
No walls, no doors, none of that?
No, nothing,
Okay, thank you.
nothing.
Anyone
It's
from
just the equipment alone.
Is the hood already, the new hood already in, or is that?
Excuse
Is the
me?
new hood already in?
Well, we ended, yes, we installed the new hood, but, we were told, that it wasn't the right hood, so we need to dismantle it and redo the right one to support, because I think the old hood, was not the bright steel, so we
there
had.
was a code issue.
Yeah, there was a code, yes, correct. So we had to not use the old one and keep the new one, but then it ended up, after we got a consultation from the hood company, they said they can't mend and connect the two. It's gotta all come down
And
again.
what was the cost just for that exhaust hood?
45,000.
And you did that with permits through the town?
No, we haven't done anything. Ever since we got the denial, we have not done anything.
Just
At all.
Curious, the duck cooker, is that gas or?
It's gas there, it's gas.
No change to the size of the dining room in
No,
terms of capacity?
nothing. Like I said, we only painted, and the only thing we lost was the liquor license because it went with the old owner. In fact, it's just an empty bar now. Back then, they had all the taps and everything. That was all removed by the soda company that supplied.
So back to the hood, the upblast fan, the exhaust fan on the roof,
Yes.
it's still only gonna be one, or is it gonna have to be a second one to
No, I
accommodate
think the new plan only shows one.
Shows one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where's your makeup air unit? Is that on the roof too? The makeup air unit that returns the air for the hood, is that outside?
Yeah, it's outside.
Is it on the roof or is it on the ground?
The return air, I think it's outside. I'm not sure. It's kind of technical. I'm not. We have to ask the hoodman, but he did do the drawing. The architect rendered the drawing to what the hood code was to be.
So, like, what's our denial for?
Yeah.
The hood size?
The hood, the exhaust and intake vents.
So those are already existing.
Modification to the roof line.
So the old ones are still there, right?
There's something there, I saw it.
No, the photograph shows the new exhaust.
I thought it wasn't in yet.
It's right in the photos. I do
That's-
believe it.
that's the
Mike,
new
is this
exhaust?
the new one?
I just took those photos yesterday.
Yeah, this is the new hood, and to answer your question, the modification, my understanding, I haven't been on the site, was the fire marshal was in, that it's consistent that the hood was increased by 12 feet for the walk and some other cooking, and that the intake and the exhaust fans were replaced. Hence, the photograph that Mr. Ogrodnik has shown shows the new exhaust fan.
Is it in the same spot as the old exhaust?
I don't know that.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
it's the same.
It's the same, there's no movement. The straight up is still the same.
Right, so from an exterior perspective, there's no changes to the exterior of the site, which is why we're appealing rather than filing a minor site plan.
I was down there, Ed, there's no patch. I mean, it's right where it's always been.
I was looking on Google.
Yeah.
AI,
I did AI it.
Alan Iverson.
So,
Go ahead, Mike.
Right. First of all, has the restaurant been open? Never. So since January, you've not been open?
No.
All right. This picture that you have here, Mike, that's what's there right now?
That's correct, that's the new, what I
Yes,
refer
that's
to
the
as
new one.
the blower that was replaced.
How does that differ for the old one?
There's no difference.
There's no difference.
No difference.
It's
So
just-
just
it
on the
was legal.
inside, the hood increased from 12 to
Right.
21
23,
feet, yeah.
21 feet.
And the
And
only
that's all.
other change would be the horsepower. It's
Okay.
the same size hood, I mean, the same thing, except the horsepower was increased because of the expansion of the hood.
Does that generate more noise?
No, shouldn't.
Do we have an idea? Does it generate more noise? No?
It wasn't part of, the appeal didn't submit any specifics. The zoning application just no, I don't have any specifics
I have an old picture.
regarding the noise, aesthetics, or anything other than the intake and exhaust were replaced and the kitchen or the duct was expanded by the 12 feet, as I think that was based on fire marshal's inspection.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
What's the fire marshal's position now?
Oh,
Everything
he
everything
says
up to
that-
code?
Well, he has a violation, but it was for alarm, I do believe.
Yeah.
The board has a copy of that.
Right. And you don't have a liquor license now?
No,
No, you will not.
not at the price that they're wanting to.
But they
sell
sold
them.
it, that-
They sold it.
Okay.
They ended up selling it, yes.
All right.
Recently, I think.
Thank you.
So just so I get, I'm Irish, I asked twice. You're expanding the hood, but you've done no structural changes outside of,
No, outside the building, no.
yep. No interior walls, no doors, no
No.
framing,
Nothing.
Nothing.
You just installed the hood and the ceiling.
Yeah, and paint.
And paint.
Interior was paint. We ended up buying the furniture from the old social as well. So we didn't have, as a deal, we bought their furniture, so the furniture is even the same.
Okay.
And just real quick, you retained the signage, and you've submitted for a signage application,
Yeah, which we got denied.
which we get, right? And is it correct that you're using the same backlit sign where the social signs are, but you're just putting in top Asian fusion?
Correct.
There's no expansion of the footprint?
No,
okay.
no. There's actually, I don't know if you have a photo of it.
It's exhibit
Yeah, okay.
I. Yeah.
If you look at the exhibit, there's a back piece that the actual word social is mounted on, because they didn't want to, I guess didn't want to touch the building, the structural integrity of the building. So, what we've decided to do, and which is a cost-effective way to do it, was just to take out the word social and replace it with top Asian, but on the same back, the back plate that it sits on. And the wiring, we've went up there and looked at it, the wiring's all good, everything is good. So basically, we have a light box, sort of say. What we do have to take that on, replace it, and just plug it in, it will light up. But it doesn't change the size or anything. That's on the existing sign, yes. Yes. Right, there are windows, but we're not putting anything on the windows now. Yes, yes.
Anybody else from the board have any questions of Mrs. Chang?
So just to confirm that, I took pictures the other day. Your signs are gonna replace the social signs that are up there right now.
The
Same-
lettering, the
Same
lettering.
color, same size.
Yes. So we're replacing the lettering.
And Mike, this was approved before with the previous use?
Yeah, so I did, after reviewing Mr. Cole's memorandum, I did dig into the archives of Somerville Borough Hall, and fantastic organization. Everything was scanned and emailed to me, and there's a site plan that was the 2012 site plan when Chow Bella became social, and then Schedule B shows the signage sheet, and then I also was able to pull the permits for the signage. So, in 2012, oddly enough, the resolution was, page and a half, just said presentations approved. So we had to dig a little deeper to see what the sheets were within that site plan application, and there was renderings with the signage, and then Frank Fuoso's inspections, approvals. I mean, this thick of inspections for when they did the bar and all the exterior work. So, our position is that the signs are permitted by variance. That's a vested right, and they run with the land. So there is no relief. We don't believe there's any relief that's needed, obviously, or we would have filed for a site plan.
Anybody else on the board have any questions, Mr. Chang? Anyone from the audience have any questions of the testimony just given by Ms. Chang? Hey, Mike?
I'm just going to call up Craig Stiers just to provide some brief testimony. We did retain Mr. Stiers as part of the zoning permit application, and
I'm good.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Craig. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name for the record.
Craig Stiers, S-T-I-R-E-S.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we can stipulate to Mr. Steyer's
I think
credentials.
we can.
Thank you.
I have some questions.
So you were retained on this project initially to do a survey, right?
Yes,
Okay, and the survey is part of a zoning permit application. My understanding is essentially to confirm that what's on the site, is what's there, correct?
yes,
And your office did conduct a survey, and I'm sure you're familiar with the site? Is
yes.
that correct?
Yep.
And have you had an opportunity to personally visit the site and inspect the site?
Yes,
We've also provided the site plan from 2012 for the social rehabilitation. Had you had the opportunity to review that?
yeah, I did.
So just real briefly, go over what was done in 2012, and were there any changes from the 2012 approvals?
I mean, obviously, the building was retrofitted. The plans that were, the site plan that was part of the architectural plans did show essentially the improvements. It didn't show the parking stripes per se back then, and our survey does show the parking now. But if you were to compare our survey to what the plan was back with social Ciabella, or however, Chiabella, there's virtually no difference. There's, air conditioners on the outside, but, as far as the layout of the parking lot itself, where the dumpster is, where the entrances are, where the walkways are, the driveways in and out, everything's the same.
Is it your testimony that there's no meaningful site modifications compared to the 2012 site plan approvals?
No.
I have no further questions for Mr. Stein.
Anybody have any questions, Mr. Stiers? Anybody from the audience have any question of Mr. Stiers? Good seeing you.
So just to conclude my presentation, I did a little bit of a deep dive into, what is the threshold that requires site plan? And the municipal land use law defines a development. And based upon my research, I don't, and comparing it to the ordinance, I believe that this is an exempt application. However, if there's any reasonable requests, we'll obviously comply with those. The proposed work, it consists of minor interior renovations, converting the range from eastern to western style, does not involve any change in use or modification to the exterior of the property, which we feel is exempt under 10241A4 of the Borough Land Use and Development Ordinance. To require full site plan would not only incredibly detriment the tenant, who's paying close to $15,000 a month without any revenue, would be contrary to the explicit language of the exemptions in the borough ordinances and the underlying principles of the municipal land use law. The borough's land use and development ordinance clearly and unambiguously sets forth specific exemption from site plan review and states that a proposed interior alteration not involving a change of use nor involving any exterior site improvements is exempt. The applicant confirmed that the following undisputed facts relate that it's an interior alteration, interior reconfiguration, does not involve a change of use, and provides maintenance for what was otherwise a leaking exhaust hood. There's no other exterior site improvements proposed. It doesn't impact parking, traffic circulation, drainage, landscape, building footprint, or impervious coverage. Since the project meets all the criteria defined by ordinance, the plain language dictates that it should be exempt from site plan review. The proposed work does not constitute a development or a structural alteration. And this is kind of an interesting aside when we talk about what triggers site plan review. So in Somerville, we have a change of use ordinance that requires any change of use, even if it's a permitted use from retail to say restaurant, if it's permitted on Main Street, that requires a full site plan review. However, the municipal land use law defines this very carefully, and it says development means that means division of a parcel of land into two or more parcels, the construction, reconstruction, conversion, structural alteration, relocation, or enlargement of any building. The borough ordinance takes out the language structural and just says alteration, which, based upon some case law, I don't think is correct. I think you need to have some type of structural alteration to trigger site plan review. Courts have determined that change of use ordinances are permitted and enforceable, and which is what we do all the time before this board. However, just an interior renovation such as replacement of ranges, which are commonly known as trade fixtures, I don't believe rises to the level of structural alteration. Structural alteration, although is defined as well in the ordinance, and it says, any change in the supporting members of a building, such as bearing walls, columns, beams, girders, interior partitions, as well as any doors, windows, or the addition or diminution of dimensions or configurations of the roof and exterior walls of the building. The proposed work is confined to non-load-bearing internal elements. It does not change any bearing walls, columns, beams, or exterior envelope of the building. Therefore, the work clearly falls outside the definition of structural alteration and cannot be deemed a development triggering site plan review based upon the municipal land use law. There's also case law that says these are mandatory definitions, so the idea that it removes structural alteration and says alteration, I think is, bears some scrutiny as it applies. There's a case, Sumner v. Township of Teaneck, that says a municipal ordinance fails if it doesn't use the consistent mandatory language of the MLUL. And again, this is what we're always struggling with the control of land use, is what triggers site plan review. And we would submit that there's no exacerbation on the existing site necessary to require a full minor site plan. Again, it's been, it's already been 5 months since we were turned down from that. We would ask that, based upon the clear language of the Borough Land Use Development Ordinance and the proposed work constitutes an expressly exempted interior alteration under 10241A, and that it is a determination that it is a non-structural and therefore doesn't meet the necessary criteria for development under the municipal land use law. The applicant respectfully requests that the board or its authorized administrative officer grant an administrative determination of exemption, allowing the applicant to proceed to the construction permit process and to proceed without the imposition of site plan review.
Thank you. Anybody from the board have any comments?
Yeah, I do. I asked those questions I asked about doors and framing and stuff like that because of what was just said. I don't see anything here that is alteration. I mean, if your refrigerator breaks in and replace it, you got to go to the Board of Adjustment or the Planning Board. It doesn't make any sense. I don't, the other part of it is this property is in a redevelopment zone.
Right.
So administratively, that sign can be handled through the Architectural Review Board and would not require, who would report to the Planning Board, but would not require going to the Planning Board to approve the sign. It's done. So I'm on a bit of a roll, but I'm a little annoyed. But I think that those permits should be issued tomorrow morning.
Anybody else from the board have any?
Yeah, I have a question. So because I think Rich, you had alluded to it earlier, so because of the windows that are on the first floor, they're unable to have the sign on the first floor. That's the reason why social had it there in the first place. So that triggered, Mike, the need for a C variance?
Yeah, the location doesn't comply with the ordinance.
But it's in a redevelopment zone, which is handled differently.
It's still, the redevelopment plan refers back to the sign ordinance in the B4, which
But it can-
requires the variance.
I'm not going to tell you your job, but it can be handled through the Architectural Review Board, who will make the recommendation to the Planning Board to do whatever they choose to do.
Not for non-conforming signs, Rich.
Well, we could talk about conforming and non-conforming all night. The building's there. It's been there since I was a kid. It was a gin mill and bar when I was a kid. You know, nothing has changed. The lot stayed the same. The turbo fan stayed the same. They're doing interior renovations. This is nonsense. This is why this town has the reputation this has. When people try to move in here, you jump through a hoop, but then there's another hoop, but then the third hoop's got flames. You know, I'll shut up, but you know where I'm coming from.
Preach. Anyone else from the board have any comments? Anyone from the audience have any comments? Okay, someone like to move to close the public portion of this?
I'll move it.
Second it.
Move second. Board, what's your pleasure?
I've expressed my
Rich summed
opinion.
it up. I think Rich summed it up. Would someone like to move to approve the appeal?
I'll move it.
Second.
Move to second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Chairman Adair,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ed Alat,
Yes.
Morgan McLaughlin,
Yes.
Rich O'Neill,
Yes.
Brian Podimski,
Yes.
John Flores.
Yes.
And if I'm correct, Stuart Daniels, you don't get a vote on this, right?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't sure on the appeal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, Mr. Ogodnik. Have a good one. Of course. He's the Ramey's attorney du jour. Used to be Soriano. Before him it was Alan Wall.
Board members, I need to recuse myself on this next application as I'm engaged in a business relationship with the applicant.
Okay, take care. Go watch Chicago Med. Yeah, this week is that like every night?
The next application hearing is 2025-009Z Princeton Canal. Is that how it's said? Thank you. LLC, 281 East Main Street, Block 129, Lot 6.01.
Good evening, members of the board.
Evening.
Mike Ogrodnik, on behalf of the applicant, Princeton Canal LLC. In connection with the property located at 281 East Main Street, Block 39, Lot 2. As you may recall, this application was first presented to the board on September 3rd, 2025. Subject is located on a 75 by 200-foot lot in the professional office and residential POR zone and is presently improved with a 2,142 square foot, 2.5-story office building, where the owner has had his engineering firm for many years. The applicant proposes to convert the existing building into two residential apartments. The floor plans included in the application propose recreation rooms in the attic and the basement, and each unit would have 3 bedrooms on the first floor and second floor respectively. The application does not propose any bathroom in the recreation areas of the basement or the attic. We've got down to 2 variants for this case. The first one I'm calling a bit of a technical variance. There's a D4 floor area ratio variance. The ordinance permits a maximum FAR of 25%. The property currently exists at 16.8%, and the proposed design would increase the FAR to 30.19%, which is 5.19% over the required maximum. So in this case, we had discussions with the township professionals, and although there's no changes to the footprint of the structure, there is a provision in the ordinance that provides for floor area ratio coverage calculations for the basement and the attic, which have been added to the gross floor area calculations. So although the building's is not making any noticeable changes or any significant changes, we do have to, if you finish your attic or your basement in Somerville, then that does consist, or that would trigger the gross floor area calcs. And we went through that with our site plan engineer at the last hearing, who's here, but I don't anticipate to present him as a witness. There was also a maximum improvement coverage variance that was eliminated after we had discussions with the board. Ordinance permits a 50% in the POR zone. The existing site is already at 62.53%. So at the end of the last meeting, the board had some requests to remove a significant portion of the rear parking lot as it converts from an office to residential to provide some lawn space. And we've provided an updated exhibit that removes a significant portion of the rear parking lot while still providing more than adequate parking for the apartments, and so that the maximum improvement coverage ratio will fall below the maximum allowable 50% and remove that variance. There's also a variance, and again, somewhat of a technical variance. The ordinance only permits 2.5-story dwellings in the POR zone. However, we are planning to improve the attic space, which will technically create a 3rd story. Again, no bedrooms, just additional finished space for the apartment structure, which technically necessitates, even though it talks about stories 2.5 and we're creating a 3rd story, technically it creates a D6 height variance, I believe, based on my reading of the law. Even though there's no additional height to the building, this building, according to the tax records, was constructed in 1960, and there won't be any variation related to the height. But if an ordinance defines stories, then technically I believe it's a D6 height variance. Any comment on that?
I think it's a C, Mike, when you comply with the height but not the story, I do believe it's a C
Okay.
variance, not a
Okay.
D.
Right.
Well, I'm not a planner, so I'll
No,
let Ms. McManus.
I concur with you. I believe it's a C variance under,
Okay.
does not fall under
Okay, all right, well,
In addition, Mike, the FAR changed in the POR subsequent to the application to 30%. It's in my report. It says
okay,
it's 30%, not 25. You're
Okay.
still slightly over,
okay.
but just
All
so
right,
you're.
I missed that. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So we have our architect to go over some of the final comments on this application. We do have our site engineer too, if there's any questions related to some of the issues that were raised in the past.
would you put your architect on, or
Yes.
would you please come forward?
Could you please state your name for the record?
Yes, would you please raise your right hand? You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
First name is Ashraf, last name is Ragab, R-A-G-A-B.
Thank you very much, Mr. Graziano.
Thank you. Are you a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I am.
And your license is in good standing?
Yes.
Okay. Could you explain, perhaps just highlight some of the basics of this project as well as some of the changes that were made since the last hearing in September?
So the project is a change of use from an office, two-story, plus basement, plus partially unfinished attic structure. We are proposing a small addition on the second floor. Currently, a portion of the building is 1 story high, and the rest is 2 stories. So we are continuing the second floor up to the end of the right side of the building, and we are proposing finished attic. The basement is currently finished, but we are expanding the finished area of the basement also. The aesthetics of the building will not change. It's a two-door style structure, and it will remain the same. The 2 apartments will be one on the first floor that will also include the basement, and the second floor apartment will have access to the attic. And the basement and the attic will have only additional space, basically, in bonus areas. We were requested to specify a few things, such as the roof, and after consulting with the client, the roof finishing, not the framing, but the shingles on top of the roof will be replaced across the whole building, so there will be a new shingle roof. The wall finishes will stay the same. The addition will copy and match the existing, which is the Tudor style brick at the bottom and stucco and boards on the second floor. Windows will be equal size as required by the code for all the bedrooms. So we will provide equal size windows. We are providing a staircase in the front. A04, this is the same exact set that was submitted for the review, except I added some renderings on the last sheet that I will go through. But sheet A04 shows the proposed plan. There is a staircase provided with a main entrance from the street side to provide access to both units. Straight in for the first floor, up the stairs to the second floor. There is also rear entry points from both floors that are remaining the same. There is a small stair and landing to get into the first floor, and an exposed stair up to the second floor from the back. And we are not planning to make any changes on those. As per the engineering report, there was a question about the need for a second mean of egress. There is no need for a second mean of egress. This is a 2-family structure. It does not require 2 means of egress. 1 mean of egress is good enough as long as the windows are egress sized from all the bedrooms. And the existing stairs, rear stairs will just remain unchanged. There was no change on the elevations other than to stipulate that there will be no new shingle roofing over the whole building, existing and proposed. The addition is basically just an expansion of the roof, an expansion of the second floor wall, and the first floor will stay the same, no change. We proposed structure, it looks very close to the existing, except with the added area on the right side. And as Mr. Brodnick stipulated, that the parking will be reduced down to 6 parking spots. We are adding some landscaping behind the parking, 8 trees, and the owner has already repaired the fence, I believe, and repainted it, which was required by the board.
Thank you. I have no further questions for the witness.
Anybody from the board have any questions?
Yeah, just my usual question. Have you considered a residential sprinkler system for this place?
I believe the owner did acquiesce to installing an R13.
R13,
Yeah, a residential sprinkler system. The basement is already sprinkled.
Right.
Because it has a lab, but the sprinkler system will be extended to the first and second.
Good.
Yeah.
Anybody else from the board?
Are you taking the chimney down or is the chimney staying up?
Chimney, so far, we're keeping it, but we could take it down. I think there's no need for it. So if the owner wants to take it down, he can. We are installing high efficiency system, so there will be no need for the chimney.
Good. Anybody else on the board have any questions?
Yeah, Mike, the stairwells, the outside stairs, they're wood. They don't have to be steel?
No, I do, as the architect has said, I don't believe that the staircase is code required. He has the second means the egress. So in theory, he could take the staircase out entirely and not need it.
And still?
Right. I had a comment in there about putting a covering over it, because if it's going to be used for inclement weather, but you really can't cover the staircase because of the windows, except for maybe the landing. There's a comment about maybe putting a covering over the landing, but the staircase, if you try to cover it, it's going to block the egress windows that are on the rear of the facade.
Right, okay. And how about the fence? There was some discussion, it may not be the applicant's fence?
Yeah, based on the survey done by Parker Engineering, the fence appears to be off-site on the adjoining property. The fence is off, and then, it's not for the architect, but I don't know if there's shrubs in the back or trees. They appear to me to be arborvitaes, but that's not for the architect on that.
Okay. And we're going to hear something about drainage?
I see Steve Parker's in the, back on there in the audience, so I'm sure he's going to give testimony regarding the drainage for the site and on the 12-inch RCP pipe.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the board have any questions? Anyone from the audience have any questions on the testimony just given? If you do, please come to the mic. Your name?
Just click the, see if it should be a little button on there. Can be bad or not be bad.
This is all mics on. Try it. Thank you.
Questions in general, or just questions for the
Question
architect?
on the application, on the testimony just given.
Just given.
By the architect.
Brian Hobby, I am the owner of the property behind at 10 Grant Avenue. The single-story part of the building, is that on a slab? Okay. And the fence is mine. There is one post on the southeast corner that is 1.2 inches over the property line. I do have a survey of that, and somebody asked me who the surveyor was. It was Jeffrey Baldwin of Hillsborough. When he came, he noticed that there was an error in my original survey. which there is a drainage pipe right on the border of the property, and it had the property line, my previous survey, right smack in the middle of the inlet right there. There was even a marker left behind from the previous survey.
Yeah, what was the more question for the architect?
Well, he mentioned that was part, that repairing the fence was part of that. Other than that, I don't think,
There'll be time for comments.
yeah, okay.
Brian, could you say your last name again and spell it, please?
Hobby, Hobby.
And you said you were the property behind. Could you give me that address?
10 Grant Avenue.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions of the testimony given by the architect?
I'd like to introduce Mr. Parker of his firm in town. Previously qualified? No? Okay, okay.
Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Yep, Steve Parker, Parker.
Mr. Brodnick, since this is a new hearing, if you would requalify your witness.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Parker, is it correct that you're a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, that's correct.
And you're here on East Main in Somerville, right?
We are,
Okay.
370.
How long have you been practicing in the field of civil engineering?
35 years.
Okay. And is your license in good standing in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Could you provide just a description of the existing and proposed site conditions?
Yeah, I think, the existing property has been used as a commercial lot or commercial site for many, many years. And so there's a parking lot in the back part of the property. The front part is lawn. There's a sidewalk that proceeds from the front door out to the street. And then the back is mostly just all parking lot. There's parking for a total of 16 stalls in the backyard there. And the proposal is actually, of course, to convert the house or convert the building to a house, a two-family house, but then to remove a significant amount of the impervious coverage. That parking lot will be reduced by almost 2,500 square feet, which is quite a bit. And so that will have the effect of reducing the rate and volume of stormwater runoff from this property onto adjoining sites. Now, the way the drainage system works on the property right now, there's 2 inlets in the parking lot. Those will remain as is. There's no changes proposed to those. And they drain to that pipe that was talked about before. There's a 12-inch concrete pipe that runs in a generally east to west direction across the back of this property and the adjoining property. And what it does is it ties into the storm system in Vanderveer Avenue. So that's going to remain as is. The drainage system on this property is proposed to remain as is, but there will be a significant decrease in the runoff from the site as a result of converting the back part of the parking lot into lawn and a landscaped area. So other than that, there's no need to make any changes to the drainage system. It works fine. We've provided the calculations, demonstrate that it's adequate to convey the stormwater runoff onto the property. I think Mr. Cole mentioned in his report that there is an issue with the 12-inch drain pipe that traverses the back part of this property, and he's requested some calculations for that. I don't think we provided those numbers, and I think Mr. Cole is asking for that. To verify whether the pipe is adequately sized to convey the runoff from a 25-year storm event, which is something we can certainly provide. I'm not familiar with how that works in general, as far as what the drainage problems are out in the back part of the property. I understand there was some discussion last time about that, but again, the runoff from this site will be decreasing significantly as a result of the changes that are being made.
Yeah, Steve, I mean, the question, number one, it was not known where the pipe was, on-site or off-site. So the pipe is on-site.
That's correct.
And based on the borough doesn't have any records of an easement. So it appears that the pipe is privately owned. That's the pipe that terminates on the subject site and runs to the west to Vanderveer. So the question came up on the capacity being of the DPW's position is they would like the applicant, should the board approve this, to maintain the pipe. And I brought up the capacity because of the pipe is undersized for the collection zone. Obviously, that involves other properties upstream, not just the applicant. So that's where I did some thing that if that's the case, the borough might want to rethink this position of who's responsible for the pipe.
Well, since we're having a discussion, has anybody looked in the pipe to see if it's clogged up? I mean, real simple test.
Yeah, I mean, I was out there and I looked at the upstream end of it, but you can only see in a foot or two. So I don't know if it's clogged up or not. It's yeah, I'm not sure whether it is or not. I mean, I know it traverses the back of the subject property, but also the adjacent property next door as well. So I looked in the inlet on Vanderveer Avenue. That appeared to be, it wasn't clogged up. There wasn't a lot of debris in there. So from what I could see, but then again, you know what? I mean, so the open end of this collects runoff from the properties at front on Grant Street as well. So I suspect it certainly could get leaves, maybe some grass clippings or those kind of things that may present an issue if it gets clogged up. It won't help, and it may not be a self-flushing pipe.
I doubt it
because
is.
of the slope.
The slope is pretty flat.
Right, correct, right.
Wouldn't it make sense if somebody takes a look or shoots a camera in there, or I mean,
Makes sense to me.
I mean, just find out if it works. I mean, it's probably, I'm not gonna get into the engineering calculations and all that. That's not my thing. But if it's clogged up, I know about stuff like that. I mean, it's like, maybe somebody should take a look. So I know
Yeah.
we had some neighbors talk about water problems. And I know I'm not saying you're generating them, but you own the solution, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I was out there after a storm event, and there wasn't. I didn't see any, ponding or any residual stormwater on the uphill side of the inlet of that pipe. So, it could still be slow draining. That may during the event make it, kind of a nuisance in the backyard there. But it does go away. It resolves itself eventually. But maybe cleaning the pipe out, we can have someone take a look at that.
Let's do that.
It's an orphan pipe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and Steve, I had some comments about your drive aisle typically is 24 feet.
Right.
For 6 spaces. That drive aisle right now is 48 feet. So I used the term it's excessively wide and made a suggestion to reduce the width of the parking stall, and that would also give some room for landscaping along the western property line. I don't,
Eastern property line?
I'm sorry,
Yes,
no,
okay.
it'd be the western property line. Right now, the parcels on the western are within 3 feet of the property line, right?
Oh, okay, you're saying, reduce that side over there.
I reduced that side because it's
Okay,
not,
okay.
you can't, there's no room for landscaping on that side
Yeah,
of 3
right.
feet. So
Okay.
I think I said 8 or 10 feet moving
Yep.
it back. Just food for thought, because the drive aisle is 48 feet.
Yeah, it's big, for sure. It's bigger than you need.
It's not needed for for that configuration, a drive aisle of 48 feet is not needed, as you know.
Correct, right.
So
right.
I just didn't know if you had a comment or a position on reducing that.
I mean, you could certainly do it. It wouldn't impact the drainage structures that are out there.
Right.
It would certainly reduce more impervious coverage. So, and I tend to agree. I think standard backup aisle is 24 feet.
Right.
This is, almost twice that. So, it is.
I think, yeah, there's some room there,
For sure. Yep.
And I had some comments on the lighting. I don't know that you're doing the lighting, or is that the architect?
Well, I think it was shown on the architect's plans. I mean, I can comment on that. The lights, I think the lights that are out there are existing, those poles along that side. And
Yeah.
that's, the adjacent property is a commercial property as well. It's a parking lot. So I don't see a problem with leaving those lights as is, the way they are. I mean, there is some spillover, I suspect, because it doesn't appear to me, the lights are older. I didn't see any shields on them, and maybe you could put them on there. I don't know if that's really a problem. I think the lights in the back are being relocated more into the property and away from the rear property. So that'll help the residential properties in the back for sure. I don't know that it's necessary to move the ones on, although I guess if they're gonna move the
Yeah, that's what I was
the
getting
parking
at.
lot over. Maybe they, you know, that's something they could look into.
If it's a two-family, do you really need pole-mounted lights in the back for, is it a little bit of overkill? I understand they're being proposed to take the two light poles and move them forward.
Right.
To be next to the new curb line for the parking lot. I'm just throwing out there that, yes, you have the light trespass, but are the light poles needed on a two-family? That's what I'm basically saying.
Yeah, I think they were just trying to keep what's
I
there and just
get it.
provide some benefit for the residents there. I'd have to talk about that with the applicant, just see what his thoughts about that are.
And the wall-mounted light on the driveway, I had some comments about the illumination levels of the driveway and the curb cut, the entrance.
Yeah, again, I think we're not trying to overlight the area.
Right.
I don't think it, you know, a driveway typically you wouldn't have that. There's enough street lights on Main Street. I don't think that needs any more lighting at the driveway entrance there or along the side. I think that's sufficient.
Yeah, if we have should the board grant approval, would you be okay with doing a light meter just to show? I agree with you. I think the street lighting will provide adequate lighting of that entrance.
Right.
I do believe that, but it's not on the plans. Right now, you don't have any,
Yeah, we could do some light meter readings, sure.
there's nothing, you have, the wall-mounted light is depicted,
Mhm.
and there's a detail of the isolux, but it's not on the plan.
Okay.
Just to pick up the driveway lighting, existing, and what the proposed wall mount light would be.
Sure, we can do that. Yep.
What about spillage? Will they be shielded enough to prevent spillage onto the other properties?
Well, that light is more of like a downward directed light. It's not, it doesn't broadcast out, so and it's not what you would consider like a typical parking lot light. So I don't know till we take the readings, but I suspect if there is, it's minimal, just because of the style of light that it is.
Any questions from the board to Mr. Parker?
Yeah, I do have. So if we can just revisit the two inlets that are on the parking lot itself. All the water from the back of the building go into those two inlets, and then it goes through a PVC pipe to the corner. I guess it would be the northwest corner of the property. And then from there, it goes out to Vanderveer Avenue.
Correct.
Okay. And the PVC pipe that you're talking about, Mike, is the one that's from on our property out to Vanderveer,
Yeah, there's a reinforced concrete pipe, a 12-inch,
right?
that terminates on the subject property and runs to the west to Vanderveer. So there's one inlet at the mouth of the pipe, okay, that catches, it's upstream, but it's to the east.
Right.
There's runoff on the parcels on Grant and East Main to the east of the site that runs to the west, apparently enters the pipe, and then that pipe discharges to the catch basin on Vanderveer. So what Steve has done, he's done the calcs for the catch basins on site.
Catch basin.
And he's demonstrated that the 8-inch pipe, the 8-inch that collects to the RCP pipe, the 12-inch pipe, is adequately sized for a 10-year storm, which
Okay.
I don't have a problem with.
So is that inlet that is on the northeast corner, is that on this subject property here?
Yes,
It is.
there is the pipe terminates, and that's where, and there's a grate on top of the pipe, but that is what collects the stormwater runoff from the properties towards the east. That apparently there's a swale or some kind of, somehow, I think there's supposed to be a swale, I'm not sure it's there, but there's a drainage problem back there I'm aware of from 20 years, that there's a collection issue. And that's why I don't know if it's a swale, a lack of a swale, or the pipe has a capacity issue. Is the water coming in this 12-inch pipe and backing up everywhere? That's why I asked the question, whether the pipe is adequately sized. The borough's position, at least DPW's, is there's no easement and they don't want to maintain any more infrastructure, which I get. But if that pipe is undersized and it's collecting from multiple places upstream and the pipe has to be replaced because it's undersized, I'm throwing out there that might be something that the applicant needs to talk about with the borough, because then you're dealing with runoff from other sources that's going through the applicant's parcel, that upgrade's needed.
And replacing a pipe on the adjacent property would need their,
Right.
authorization as well, and I'm not sure, if that's, how that would work.
Before you start digging things up, how about just cleaning it? Maybe it's,
I think that's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I think there's some property owners here that might have some.
You'll get your answers when you get to the public. You'll have it all laid out for you.
Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome, that's why I'm here. Very helpful.
So Steve, I had some questions about granite curbing versus the concrete curbing. Are you okay with putting granite curbing?
Yeah, sure, yep.
Anybody else on the board have any questions? Anyone from the audience have any questions of the testimony given by Mr. Parker?
Yes.
We found out if you ignore me, it won't go away. You know the rules. You know the drill.
I'll go after.
Please give your name and address, sir.
Dan Swa, 16 Grant Avenue. We're the corner lot. With regard to the swale, I heard it mentioned at a meeting quite like this many years ago. From Rehill to Vanderveer, the backyards have a 2 to 4 inch swale, which turns into a 1 foot deep by 6 to 10 foot wide swale in my backyard. A little bit wider on property to the west of us, or east rather. The pipe is situated on the northeast corner, and as far as the 3 drainage capabilities on the property, that one pipe has a drain. Water's never seen it, except for things like Hurricane Ida. Yesterday, with the storm that we had, light storm, I should say, it rained steadily all day, relatively light. The water was flowing. The property directly behind us has drainage ditches on either side that fill that. I've never seen water come back. Wouldn't hurt to run a camera down there, but I've never seen water come back. When you have a storm of significance and it's filled up, how can you tell which way it's running? It just fills up. The property to the east of us, recently, their swale, they've been filling in with landscaping material, so it's, I think that's creating a problem with the backup, but didn't seem to be inhibiting water flow yesterday. As far as lighting, the lights were recently repaired or turned on. I don't know if the light on the pole to the back of the house facing our properties was burned out, or maybe it was just shut off. But now that one's lit again, and with the trees that have been removed, no buffer, the lighting is very obtrusive. There's no shielding on it. We would like to see shielding, or, remove the lights. I don't know that you need to have all those lights. One thing that was nice is recently you noticed there seems to be a timer put on them, so they do go off somewhere around 10 or 11 o'clock at night. The house on the corner next to it, though, has 3 lights, unshielded, and they stay on all night. They're kind of annoying. But that's another property. So we would, with regard to the parking lot, I'm glad to hear that some of it's going to be removed. We would like to see some trees rather than arborvitaes that would create a better buffer and soak up water. So I'm wondering if there's anything going to be done
We'll need it for the
with regard to
resolution.
that.
Of course.
But that's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience have any comments or questions on the
Yes.
testimony? Someone will move for adjournment?
Nice try. The first thing I'm gonna say is that this applicant is not the responsibility. This is not the responsibility.
Your name
of
for
this-
the record.
Larry Cleveland, everybody knows me. 34 Grant Avenue. And I have lived in town for 27 years or 28 years.
No comment.
And I've been on the planning board, almost the entire time, and I was never allowed to talk about developments that are on the street because it was a conflict of interest. But every time the planning board approved a parking lot on East Main Street, they went, don't worry about it, the swale's gonna take care of the water. Every time. There are 9 buildings on the street that were, parking lots were put in or redeveloped, or expanded, and every time, the swale's gonna handle it. So their property right now, yeah, it's not taking anything else in because it's just handling their water removal. It's not handling things coming from up the street because it pools in my backyard. Because 2 houses down, when they did a renovation on the house, the DPW did an investigation and found out that the swale is blocked right there. That's where it's blocked, so the water comes down from Rehill and it stops. And it ends up in 34, 40.
Larry, what's the question?
The question is, before we, you wanted questions, I'm giving you answers to,
no.
well,
Not the questions.
the question is, what's the applicant gonna do about fixing the swale so that they can do a proper calculation for the pipe that's in their backyard?
Very good.
This has to get fixed. This has been 27 years of this, and it got worse about 10 years ago when they renovated this house. And I've been asking for this for years. Now is the time to, like, let's take a look at it. We know exactly where it is. The town has been counting on this swale for 20-something years. So you can't go, oh, well, now it's private property, so we can't do anything about it. That's nonsense, and I got stronger words. You have to, the DPW has to do something about it so that that pipe will handle the water that's coming down. And if it does have to get replaced, then we can replace it.
But you know, one of the things that this board has done, we made a recommendation because of all the applications in the POR zone, which this was or is, requesting to go to a residential. With residential, there's gonna be less parking, and just as they're doing, they're removing some of the macadam, 2,500 square feet, I believe.
That's true, and that's gonna
that's the
reduce the
trend that we've
runoff
been seeing.
for theirs, but it doesn't do anything upstream. This pipe is on their property. It's not taking any water in because it's not getting there, because the swale is blocked.
Well, we'll find that out once they run the cameras through.
Well,
And then
I
run
can,
the router.
I'll bet you money right now, there's nothing wrong with that pipe. There's nothing blocked in the pipe, because nothing's getting there but water. It's blocked 2 properties up. I can guarantee it because the DPW already investigated it and told me that.
And that's something Mr. Parker's gonna have to take a look at.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We gotta get it fixed, because it just can't stay like this.
Any other questions?
Can I ask you, Larry, before you go?
Oh.
The swale you're talking about is not on this property.
The swale is 2 properties before. It goes the entire way up.
Towards Rehill.
From Rehill all the way down. Every property on Rehill, every property on Grant and every property on East Main that shared a parking lot has the swale. After it passes my property, it goes 1 more property, and now it's blocked. And that's the property right before this pipe that we're concerned about it being blocked. It's not being blocked. The water's not getting there from 2 properties away. And this is from DPW, not my opinion. They told me what happened.
And when you say the swale is blocked, what's blocking it?
Grass, soil that they filled in the swale on the back of this property of a building that was recently renovated. About
And
10
Dan,
years
that's
ago.
what you were talking about, that it's being filled in?
Landscaping materials, yeah.
Okay.
So the swale doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't meander anywhere. It stops.
Okay.
Well, they don't have the right to just,
Thank you.
they don't have the right to just fill that in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions of the testimony of Mr. Parker?
Do I restate my
Yes.
Yes.
Brian Hobby? I'm the owner of the property behind it at 10 Grant Avenue. As far as the drainage goes, the parking lot seems to handle the water pretty well from what I've noticed over the last 29 years. On the maps, it is listed as an intermittent stream that starts by the hospital and comes around the backside. I don't know if that makes any difference to people that are professionally planners or whatever, but I just thought I'd mention that. Are we talking about the parking lot now, or?
We're talking about any thing that Mr. Parker had testified to.
So it's going to go down to 6 spaces. Are they going to come in the same direction that they're coming now, or are they going to be along the backside facing my property?
Mr. Parker?
Yeah, so the stalls are gonna stay basically the way they are. And I think what we talked about, the driveway's gonna stay in the same location. We're taking pavement off of the back of the parking lot. And then what Mr. Cole was just suggesting was actually eliminating some more along the westerly side and making it shorter along the westerly side. So the entrance and the driveway into the back will stay the same. Part of the back parking lot, which on the plans that were submitted is the hatched area, that's gonna be removed. And then some additional area along the westerly side is also gonna be removed as well.
Yeah, well, that works better. So is there still going to be professional use of this building? Possibly in the future?
They have to come back for a change of use. Well,
They
if
would
it's
have to what?
PO If it's POR and they want to use the downstairs.
Right. Yeah, so
it's
technically,
allowed.
it could be used in the future as.
In the future, yes.
Right,
That would be permitted, yes.
okay. All right, that's it for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Parker?
I have no further
all I have.
questions for Mr. Parker.
Anyone else from the audience have any questions, Mr. Parker?
Just the landscaping, Michael, is that that Mr. Parker, or is that the architect, or the applicant, or property owner?
Species are you talking about?
Species, is there any,
If you have suggestions, then we could,
are those evergreen trees in the rear, or are they shrubs, arborvitaes? They were the 8 trees, shrubs planted along the northern property line. I just didn't know anybody gonna provide comment on.
Yeah, I mean, those are arborvitaes that have been planted there already in the back.
Yeah.
And I think Mr. Cole also made some suggestions about some of the landscaping across the front of the property that's existing right now, maybe overgrown. So yes, the applicant is certainly gonna revise that as part of the project. They're gonna, plan on just doing like what you would expect for a normal residential attractive landscaping package. I think that Mr. Cole commented about trees, street trees as well. I think the suggestion was not to include those in this because of the wires that are across the front of the site. So I think we can I think the suggestion was there's either a requirement for a contribution, or maybe we can put some trees in the backyard as described by Mr., sorry, I forget who mentioned it, Javi, about maybe a tree or two in the backyard in addition to the arborvitaes. I believe we can, put some of those back there also. There's plenty of room for that.
What along the western property line with the parking spaces?
Right.
Steve?
In that area, right.
And so the board knows there's 6 spaces, the ordinance requires 4, so the applicant's asking for 2 more spaces essentially for guest parking or parties or what have you. So it's not, in my opinion, overly excessive for a 2-family, 6 spaces.
Not today.
No.
Okay. Mr. Ogradnik?
our final witness is Elizabeth McManus from the firm of Kyle McManus, who's our professional planner.
Good evening, Mrs. McManus. Would you please, do you solemnly swear that pardon me, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth? So help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
My name is Elizabeth McManus, McManus.
Thank you.
Good
Mr.
evening.
O'Grady?
Good evening, Ms. McManus. Could you just provide a little bit of your professional experience as a
We'll
planner?
stipulate to her credentials.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, folks, so we have a couple variances I need to address for you. The first one is I'd like to talk about the FAR variance. So I'm so pleased to have Mr. Cole point out the fact that we are now much closer to the permitted FAR than we were when the application started. The POR district now permits 30% FAR. I think we really have what amounts to a de minimis variance at this point, because we are at 30.19%. So just less than 0.2% of an overage of the permitted FAR. That said, I do still want to go through some of the testimony to help the board understand what I think is really the lack of impact from the increased floor area. I do want to point out that we have some, when I review the definitions related to floor area ratio and gross floor area, there is language that floors with, or areas with floor to ceiling heights of less than 7 feet don't contribute. Now, we've included that for the sake of providing a conservative calculation, because there is other language about having the gross floor area when it's used for storage and things and human habitation, contributing to aspects like parking and other aspects of code requirements. But I do want to point out that we have areas in the basement and significant areas in the attic that are indeed at less than 7 feet in height. And so that's I think that's also could contribute to a lower FAR if we wanted to try to take a different outlook on how to do that calculation. But as I said, we've tried to be conservative for the sake of capturing all floor area for the board's understanding. But that, if we were going to take this alternative tactic or strategy, our FAR would be closer to 22%. But beyond that, even with the 30.19% FAR, there are a couple aspects of this project that I think the board can consider in hopefully finding in favor of our variance. And that is, first and foremost, we're not looking for a change in the building footprint at all. Instead, this additional floor area really is a result of the one-story portion of the building that's going, or the increase in height as it expands the floor area on the upper stories. And so it doesn't create an enlarged footprint. It doesn't change the setbacks. For example, it's not bringing the building closer to the street or closer to our neighbors. The increased floor area is also, in this case, not indicative of excessive intensity of the building, as you so often see with FAR variances. Instead, we're actually reducing our impervious cover by about 2,500 square feet. And we're reducing as part of that reduction in impervious cover, we're actually reducing the parking as well. And I would suggest that that's indicative of reduced intensity of use of the property. We just simply need to have less parking to host fewer people coming and going on the property. And so this increase in FAR is simply not related to an increase in activity on the property or intensity of use. In terms of, let me back up for a moment. I cite that in part because for FAR, while this is a D variance, we're not looking for the typical D variance criteria, whether it meets special reasons, purposes of municipal land use law. Rather, the question that must be asked is whether or not the property can accommodate the increased floor area. Here, I think the answer is clearly yes, given the lack of footprint changes and the lack of increased intensity or increased activity on the building itself and the site itself. For the negative criteria for the FAR, notwithstanding these different criteria, there's also needs to be a finding that there's no substantial detriment, and here I think the board can easily find in favor of that. In fact, I think there's really no negative impact from the increased building area of that of that .19 as the POR district now permits. The intent of FAR is typically to include that intensity, but here I don't think we have that issue. In fact, we're proposing to occupy the site with just 2 housing units, which is, I think, less activity than an office use occupying this site would produce. We have no increased disturbance of the site. In fact, the disturbance is related to removing that impervious cover. We've got negligible traffic. And then also, as I look around at the surrounding area, which is really a mix of homes as well as offices, what I see are buildings that are similarly sized. And in terms of how they present to the street, I also see buildings that are similarly wide. So our building is approximately 50 feet wide, and when I view the properties along our side of the street, as well as those across the street, what I see are building sizes, or not sizes, but widths rather, that range from about 33 feet to 55 feet. So with the largest building actually being directly across the street from us on lot 14. And so we are, as I view the neighborhood, I think we're really in line or consistent with the size of buildings along this portion of East Main Street. Our second variance is building height variance. We've got a C2 variance for this. Happy to hear that that the board is not asking us to meet D6 variance, although I do think that we could satisfy that as well. Notwithstanding though, for the C2 variance, I'd say there are 2 purposes of the municipal land use law that are advanced by our application. The first is purpose J, which addresses prevention of urban sprawl, degradation of the environment. And then also purpose M, which is lessening the cost of development and a more efficient use of land. And the reason why I cite that is because in order to provide the floor area and the bedrooms that we're aspiring to provide residents on this property, the alternative would be to expand the building footprint to the rear of the site as an alternative. And here we're simply, it's simply not necessary, as we're able to go up in height instead. I would also suggest that, and want to remind folks that while we are looking for this height variance, the proposal specifically is to simply bring the portion of the building that's at a single story now up to match the existing height of the remaining portion of the building. So this is not a proposal to increase the overall height of the building. Instead, it's simply a proposal to create a consistent roof line across the front of the building. But as a result of the proposed changes to that upper story, we're moving from a half story to a 3rd story, although it will appear, I think to folks walking, driving, and living in the area, it will appear to be the same height. It's just a virtue of the technical manner in which the borough defines a story versus a height half story that triggers the variance.
Mr. Cole taught a class on that one night.
Oh.
On an application, half story and height, yeah. It was a classic.
Well, I'm sorry I missed it, I guess. So as I said, for the positive criteria for a height, it's purposes J and M that I would point to as being relevant. For our negative criteria for the C2 variance, it's a typical negative criteria, whether there's any substantial detriment to the public good or the zone plan, and I think here the case is certainly not. In fact, I really don't see a negative impact by virtue of the fact that the building height is not actually increasing in terms of feet beyond what it is today, and in fact, we're at just 34 feet in height, whereas 35 feet is what's permitted. And we're also not increasing the overall appearance of the number of stories, perhaps to a layman is the better way to put it, for folks that are walking or driving down the street. The building today looks like a 2.5-story building, albeit with a 1-story portion. The building will continue to look like a 2.5-story building if we're lucky enough to achieve approval. Height is also often used by municipalities to control the intensity of the use, but as I said before, this is not a story of increased intensity. We're, in fact, just proposing 2 apartments, and I would point to the removal of parking as evidence of the reduced intensity that can be anticipated from the property. And overall, through this building change, through this building addition, one of the benefits that the borough will receive is that the outside of the building is really going to be improved. It's going to have a bit of a facelift, such that the building is going to be modernized, improved in appearance, and I think just frankly look nicer for the neighborhood. And before I address some master plan items, there are a handful of exceptions I want to review that we're seeking. The first one is Section 102, 88C, and this is about landscaping around the perimeter of the parking lot. We are, well, I suppose now at this point, given we're proposing to remove some of the parking paving from the width of the parking area, we'll have an opportunity to provide some landscaping. But nonetheless, we may still need relief, so I would like to address it. As the property exists today, we don't have adequate space to provide landscaping on both sides. As we have proposed to amend the application this evening, we'll have adequate space to provide landscaping on simply one side. And I believe the board has suggested that the parking area be reduced from the side of, or the western property line, which abuts the adjacent parking area. And so we'll be able to provide some buffering along that side. We're also looking for relief from waste removal and recycling that requires exterior refuse pickup to be accessible to solid waste trucks. That's simply unnecessary given our application is to bring the garbage to the street for regular pickup. It's sort of an unnecessary improvement. We are also looking for relief on shade trees on the property, although perhaps we've already committed to providing additional shade trees, so that item of relief may indeed be eliminated. But notwithstanding, I would say we did plant the 8 trees along the rear of the property, and while they're not shade trees, they are indeed trees, of course, and they'll provide some environmental benefit, and they'll also provide some screening benefit as they continue to mature. We are looking for relief on street trees. As we just heard Mr. Parker reference, there are wires across the front that prevent our ability to provide the street trees, but again, we're proposing to mitigate that through additional landscaping on the property if we're able to achieve an approval. We're also, the last item of relief is relief for light trespass. There's a requirement for not greater than 0.5 foot candles at the property line. And I want to be really clear, the area that we're seeking relief from is the property line that abuts the adjacent parking lot. And so this is not a request to seek relief for a property line that's shared with one of our residences, perhaps to the east or perhaps to the rear. Instead, it's just on the existing parking lot. And I want to note that this is largely an existing condition as the lights exist today. And I do think, I do want to make sure that we have adequate light for the residents that live on the property, but notwithstanding, we have agreed to a light meter test post-construction just to confirm that the lighting is not excessive, and presumably if it is found to be a problem, we'll adjust the lights to ensure they're not a nuisance for the area.
Good.
And then I do want to talk about the master plan. There are a few goals that I think our application is advancing. And this is from your 2021 master plan. There are a few housing goals and policies. The first one to cite is a goal to provide a range of housing types to meet varied resident population needs, as well as to preserve established residential areas and promote redevelopment by establishing redevelopment areas. The relevant portion here is to provide a range of housing types to meet varied population needs. And I don't think we are preserving an established residential area necessarily. We are restoring what was once a house converted to an office, now proposing to convert it back to a residential use, which is consistent with many of the buildings in the area, including our neighbor to the east. We also have a goal to increase the opportunities for households to obtain satisfactory housing at a variety of prices. And I think here with our 3-bedroom rentals, it's really going to create a niche housing type. It's hard to find 3-story rental units. Oftentimes, and I'm sure is the borough's seen for many of its new developments, unless it's an affordable unit, so often they are only 1 and 2 bedrooms. And this really creates an opportunity for households that are looking for a little bit more space. Maybe they want to work from home. They'll be able to do so in the privacy of their homes in one of these 2 apartments that are being proposed. And then the last part of the master plan I wanted to cite is a policy, which is to encourage attractive site appearance, consistency, and good design. And I think that's one of the benefits of this application. Not only are we proposing to take some environmental impacts and reduce them through the reduction in the impervious cover, but the result of this application, particularly from the street, will be a nicer looking building that's modernized with improved building materials and just simply a facelift through not only the building but also through landscaping that we're proposing. And all of that will simply improve the site and the surrounding area. And the last thing I want to remind folks about is we have committed to review and clean out the drainage pipe as needed, which will have another benefit, hopefully for the neighborhood, assuming that we find a blockage.
Thank you.
And with that, folks, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anyone from the board have any questions of the testimony just given? Anyone from the audience have any questions of the testimony just given by Ms. McManus?
I am Brian Hobby from the property behind 10 Grant Avenue. Are you going to do more landscaping?
I think that was one aspect that we just talked about with Mr. Parker's testimony. Yes.
Right. So shade trees and better screening in the rear of the property and to the side of the property. Are you going to remove the light poles, or have we decided not, or is that going to happen later on?
The light pole closest, because you're directly to the rear, right?
Yes.
The light
There's
pole.
2 in the back, so are they going to be moved forward? I mean, do you need the light poles, or?
One of them is proposed to be moved forward to essentially reuse so that we can light the parking lot, but they will be significantly farther from your property
Right.
line, and so I would expect the lighting.
And there'll be hoods or something on them, or the leakage, the whole testing
Yeah,
and all
they're
that?
downward-facing lighting. They should not have.
Well, right now, they're not downward, but
Correct.
they're 45-degree angle.
The proposed light fixtures are downward-facing, and not only that, but when I view the lighting plan, what I don't see is any light spill on your property.
Okay. Yeah, because right now, it's pretty bright, that's all. And there is no screening between the 2 properties. There used to be lots of trees, lots of undergrowth, lots of trees all around. Since we've started this proceedings, I've had to take another tree down. So, I would like to, because in the past, that property was used where people would come and go 24/7.
Yeah.
The lights come down that driveway and boom, right on me. So when I stand on the ground level with the fence as it is now, the entire property is cut off. I can see East Main Street. But once they turn on, the driveway is gone, the parking lot is gone. If you're up a little bit higher, the parking lot is still gone with my fence there. That's my only issue. As far as less intensive use of the property, it couldn't get any less intense as it is now. They show up at 8, they leave at 5, no nights, no weekends, and all I can think of is a counseling service moving in later on where you have people every hour coming in with the lights shining toward our property. Now, luckily, there's enough room. This is a 200-foot deep property, and the one next to it is, but everybody else is 175. So I guess you can have the property parking go in the parallel to me. Other property, if the parking lot gets short and they're coming at me, that would be a problem. But it seems like you have the parking
No,
going in the proper direction.
That's correct. They'll come down the driveway. They'll turn, if you're a driver, you'll turn left into a parking space. Yeah. And so just so you see, I don't think it's shown on this, but there's a light pole back here that will be relocated to our parking area. And so that'll move the lighting, the light fixture as well as the light spill away from your property. And then all of the cars will continue to park this way. And so, yes, you may see the headlights as they come up the driveway, but then they'll be turning away from your site towards the
Right.
office property.
All right, and what about this light here?
That is, I think that's proposed to be eliminated as well.
All right, well, it's right here, actually, it's
Please
right
try to
there,
speak
but
into
are you
the
gonna-
microphones.
Are you gonna move
No.
that
Excuse me,
light
Mr.
to
Hub?
there?
Could you speak into the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry. That
No,
li-
it is not proposed to be relocated to
Is
this
it
corner.
being,
All of the
is it
lighting,
being eliminated?
I believe it is. All of our light fixtures are proposed along the western property line. There are none proposed along the rear of the parking area, which is closer to your home.
Right, but this one is still gonna.
Yeah, there'll be a
all
pole
right,
there.
but this one will be gone.
Yes, there'll be poles
Okay.
here and here.
And hooded and downward facing.
Correct.
Doesn't have to be on a timer or anything, but that would be nice too. I think that's about it.
I think I believe that the impact on your property as a result of this application is gonna be much less. You'll have more grass area, there'll be additional plantings beyond what's there, and the lighting will be much farther from your property than it exists today.
Yeah, I'm also curious as to why it goes from a 2.5 to a 3-story.
There's some nuances in the
I know
ordinance.
there's some nuances, but if you ever go to Cape May and take a tour,
Oh, is there?
they're like 2.5 story, and the reason for that was so they could avoid property taxes. So where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Anyone else on the board? Okay, Mr. O'Bradnick?
Any other witnesses?
No other witnesses. Just my closing is that the applicant submits the requested variances satisfy the statutory criteria under the municipal land use law. Now, the proposed conversion will promote the purposes of the zoning as set forth by our planner, including the reuse and adaptive conversion of this office building to provide new housing opportunities consistent with Somerville's need for diverse residential options. It's consistent with the intent and spirit of the zoning plan, and for these reasons, the applicant respectfully requests that the board grant the requested variances so that the property can be adapted into a beneficial residential use.
Thank you. Anyone from the audience have any comments? Now's your time. Okay, anyone from the board? Well, sorry. Anyone like to move to close the public portion of this application?
So moved.
Move to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Board?
I think overall, it's, as a neighbor, I would consider it an improvement. You know, it should be less intense. The housing is an issue. We do need decent housing, and this appears to fit the bill. They're gonna put the sprinkler system in. We've got a basement and a third floor. I'm happy with it.
Brian?
Yeah, less lights when possible, I think would help everybody out. I know I know when that happens, and it always starts out like, oh, but the lights end up bothering you. So if we can take some away, or really make sure it's screened, but the more landscaping will help. But other than that, the water thing, it sounds like to me, it's not this property's problem. I think it would be in good faith to like make sure that if that problem is alleviated, that pipe can take the water, like it's not clogged or anything. But right now, it sounds like that problem is properties away. And that's basically all I have to say about it.
Morgan?
I like the plan. I think it's a substantial improvement to the area. And I hope we can clean up the landscaping, put a little bit more landscaping in to shield some of the lighting issues, and maybe also to eliminate some of the light poles there.
Yeah.
Let it, make it less commercial.
I was gonna suggest, Mr. Chairman, that as a condition of approval, as we've done with a recent application, that landscaping be subject to the review and approval of Mr. Cole. I think that's probably a good way to serve the board's, the board's purposes, and also to meet with the comments made by members of the interested public. You object to that, Mr. Cole?
No, I think it's, the landscaping is, be a beneficial for the surrounding houses. And I'd like to see if the 2 light poles to the north can be eliminated and the parking lot illuminated from the house side, like it's classically done on a 2-family house. With lights that are shielded, as we discussed, so that you don't have a lot of light trespass and you don't have the direct glare. The term is full cutoff, so I don't know if it's the architect's office or Mr. Park, someone that we can, we normally, the board would like to see all this, as we said, but I think that the applicant, Mr. Grodnick, knows what we're trying to achieve here with the landscaping and the light trespass and the more residential look. So I'm comfortable, should the board want to move this, on conditions that we can work up during compliance.
And one other question, Mr. Chairman. In connection with the drainage, I mean, Mr. Cole, do you believe it's appropriate that we have the video of the, the drainage as we do on certain properties? 'Cause there seem to be some questions as to whether, Mr. O'Neill pointed out a number of things.
Yeah, I take that off the table. The question is the residents, Larry has brought up, that we have a drainage problem there that's to the east of the site. Obviously, that's a swale that's not on the property, the subject property. However, it would be nice to say if the water gets to the pipe, that the pipe can adequately convey the water. So I think the testimony from Mr. Parker was he could do the calculations so we can see if the pipe is adequately sized. If the pipe is adequately sized, then it becomes the issue of getting the water to the pipe, and the clippings are filled in. Unfortunately, that's on private property, not on the applicant's property. So to the extent to help the residents, it might be a recommendation, should the board approve this, to have the borough look at this swale and try to get private parties to convey the stormwater, because I don't think there's an easement back there from the borough. So it's a total private property issue upstream of the pipe, unless I'm missing some information.
Okay.
But it sounds like somebody may have interfered with the drainage that was existing.
Right.
And that, I think, can be a municipal issue.
It's private property, and I think from what the residents are saying, that the swale's been blocked or filled in.
Yeah.
So if the pipe is adequately sized, you still can't get the water to the pipe. So to the extent of what's in front of the applicant, if the pipe is demonstrated to be the right size and clear, the applicant is, I don't know how the applicant can be bound to be working on somebody else's property.
I agree, but maybe we as a board ought to ask the town to go take
Right.
a look.
Just a recommendation saying.
Well, if it's creating a nuisance or a
Right,
dangerous
to
condition, at
address
that
the
point it becomes a
concerns.
municipal issue.
And I've heard this, and I've heard Larry, and I've been subject to other applications, and I agree with Larry, there's a drainage issue back there.
Okay.
And at some point, I agree that should be addressed. The question is, it's all private property, Rich, to go back to your point.
Yeah, but if I change the water flow in my neighborhood and direct it onto my neighbor's lawn.
I agree. I know what you're saying. You're saying you can't do that.
Can't
I
do
agree.
that, yeah.
I agree. No argument there, Rich.
I mean,
Go ahead.
at the end of the day, I mean, the reduced impervious coverage is gonna do nothing but improve the situation. Right? The question before the community is whether or not that reduction is, if they clear the swale and stuff like that and water flows, we don't know yet if that reduction is gonna be, is gonna alleviate all the issues in the area.
Yeah,
Right? We don't know, like you said, we don't know if the pipe is right size, but that, the sizing of the pipe is not necessarily the full responsibility of this
That's why
application.
I'd hate to go through this tremendous effort to get all this coordination, have the swale redone, eliminate the drainage, and have the pipe back up.
Be too small.
Obviously, the whole thing should be looked at in its entirety. So if the pipe is undersized, say, because of the drainage area, update it, then I'm suggesting that the borough would have to get involved, because the stormwater runoff for the whole area is caused by others, third parties, that's not the applicant's responsibility.
Agreed, yes.
That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
At some point, this becomes, as I think Mr. O'Neill has said, the borough needs to get involved and do some cooperation, and maybe there's violations for filling things in, changing the runoff, which has been suggested, but any of those would require some borough intervention.
Yes.
So, in my opinion, the best I think this board and Cliff could
board-
do is make a recommendation to the borough to investigate this and to get the swale running properly. And from the applicant, and Mr. Parker has said, and I agree with, do the calculations to show that the pipe is adequately sized for whatever that drainage area is, keep it clear, and then it becomes an applicant, an issue of the swale and a violation up gradient. No, and that's the DPW's position, is the pipe, they don't want to maintain the pipe. And I'm just saying as a caveat, if the pipe has to be changed because it's undersized, then it evolves, I don't know how it doesn't, because the pipe goes across two properties, ties into a catch basin that's owned by the borough. So I think at that point, the borough would be forced into some joint agreement on it. This is my opinion.
You know, if somebody filled that swale, it's not that hard to unfill it. I mean, you know, we're not talking
Right.
rocket science here.
Right.
John?
Yeah, I mean, I like the improvements to the application. I really do appreciate the reduction in the intensity of usage and the reduction in impervious coverage. Again, this can only improve what's happening in the area in terms of drainage and whatnot. And I don't know. I guess this is the question we're all talking about. I don't know if it's this application's responsibility to be entirely responsible for the drainage of that area, right? They play a role, but I don't, for sure, but I don't know if they should, because that 12-inch pipe is not entirely theirs, I don't think they should bear full responsibility for it. But I think you're right, I think calculations should be done. I think separately, the issue of the block should be addressed. But all those things, I don't see any reason why this application should be delayed while that swale is addressed separately.
Ed?
I like the application. I do appreciate the applicant listening from the first meeting in September, coming back, make some changes. Don't really have anything else to add.
Who are you? What'd you do with that?
Right here. We beat the swale enough.
I had a feeling of deja vu on this one about the swale and the drainage. It came up before. On the 2.5 stories, as I said, way about 15 years ago, Mr. Cole taught a class on it. Marcus Rosenau on East Cliff Street, Mike. The difference between 2.5 and 3 stories. This board took a position a couple years ago, as we've seen more and more applications in the POR zone want to go to residential, which is great because we need more apartments. But the POR zone is on the way out. To answer what I think was Mr. Hobby said, the question he asked, could somebody come back in the future and want to put an office in it, yes, because we still have a POR zone, and it's legal. I think all the work that's being done on the swale, on the pipe, and the impervious coverage is good. I like the application, and three-room apartment's gonna probably go about for $5,000 each. I'm in favor of it. So, board, what's your pleasure?
I'll move to approve it.
Move in second. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Chairman Adair.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ed Allat.
Yes.
Morgan McLaughlin.
Yes.
Rich O'Neill.
Yes.
Brian Vidimski.
Yes.
John Flores.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, Jeff.
Oh, one thing, I'm sure Mr. Ogrodnik knows what I'm gonna ask, to make this subject to, the comments and terms
Of
and
course.
conditions set
Of
forth
course.
in, I got so tied up with the swale, I forgot
We
that,
all
so.
did.
But, so it's subject to the comments and conditions set forth in Mr. Cole's November 26, 2025 report.
Yeah, Mike, I think one of the things when we get these trees that are required in the front yard, one for every 50 feet, if they can't do it and they want a waiver, I don't think we as a board, can give them a pass on that. I think that's gotta come before the Environmental Commission.
Yeah, I think they have to, I was gonna say, I'm not sure we can do it, but.
The ordinance says that a financial contribution of $650 can be made in lieu of planting the street trees.
Right.
Should the board feel that it's not appropriate.
Right.
For whatever reason, just utility poles, location.
Yeah, overhead lines, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing left. What do we?
Oh, thank you.
The seventh item you have is, I'm sorry, you ready for that? The seventh item you have is the light waiver for checklist 45-55 Hamilton Street.
It's just for clarification of the board. PSC&G is coming in for a land use application to cap, I think, blacktop paving of one of their sites and off of Hamilton Street. And they've asked for a waiver for site lighting, but I want to make the board aware, I do believe it's a waiver for providing lighting, not a waiver for not showing it. So I'm not 100% sure which one it is. I think it's a waiver for providing lighting because they're not proposing lighting. So if they're not proposing lighting, they can't show us anything. So obviously, it's not a waiver. But I just want to make it clarification that if you read the language of what they're saying they're asking for a waiver for providing site lighting. I'm interpreting that meaning they're not proposing any on-site site lighting. So it wouldn't be.
Just capping the property, right?
I'm just making the board aware that I'm interpreting this to mean they're not providing site lighting, and that's why they're asking for a waiver.
Right.
Once the application is deemed complete. The alternative is they're asking for a waiver to them showing the lighting, which I don't think is the fact. Typically, site lighting, landscaping, the existing conditions the board likes to see and doesn't typically grant checklist items for that. I'm just reconfirming that, and I'll drill down with the applicant to make sure, no, we're not providing any lighting on the site because we're just capping it, as Mr. O'Neill had just said.
So are they done the cleanup over there, or is that still ongoing?
I think it's somewhat monitoring ongoing, and that's why they're looking to finalize the cap or the blacktop on the site. It'll be coming in front of the application. It's on the agenda just to make sure the board's aware that as long as I drill down on this and they're saying, no, we're not showing any lighting because we're not proposing it, and then that'll be addressed at the hearing, as opposed to asking for a waiver for the checklist. So that's all. Just making sure you're aware of that a waiver was requested. I'm not 100% sure right now. I think it's for they're not showing lighting because they're not providing any lighting because it's being capped. So
Have we declared it complete yet?
Right, it hasn't been deemed complete, it's on a checklist item.
Right, no,
I
that's
said
what
on the
I'm saying.
checklist, you have to provide lighting, and the responses were asking for a waiver, but they didn't say a waiver from design standards
They
or
need
a
to
waiver from
clarify
the
it.
checklist. So I'm making sure the board is aware of that, and that the position that if it's a waiver from a checklist, the answer is no. If it's a waiver for not doing it, that's a different story entirely, because they're gonna say they're not providing any on-site activity, so why are we providing lighting? Which makes perfect sense.
It's a perpetual vacant lot.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Seinfeld
So
episode.
to me, right,
Well, the
but,
cl- and the- and the
this is
clock
me
doesn't
just getting
start until they get-
clarification, letting the board know, and I'll drill down, but should it become, no, we're not providing sight lighting, we'll address that, and that's not a checklist item. Obviously, I can't, with the borough, can't require something that they're not proposing, right?
True.
Chairman, we're up to chairman's comments.
This is the last meeting of the year. This year went fast, it was interesting. Next year's gonna be, it's gonna be a good year, because this year was not good for me. I've asked the mayor to keep the board intact. Those of us who were up for reappointment, I've asked that we keep them. We have some great boards in this town. When I look at the Borough Council, I see Brian and Roger and all of the others, and I look at the planning board, see Brian and Larry.
That's all right. Yeah.
And others, and I look at this board on TV, say, we are blessed with some very talented people in this town, and they're standing up, and they're coming up and saying, I want to be a part of this. And we're making this town great. Affordability, that's another problem, that's a universal problem. But here we're gonna get more apartments. And I'm just looking forward to working with everybody next year. It's been a good year, thanks a lot.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you.
All right, take care, all.
Working-
Honor and a pleasure, an honor and a pleasure.
They come in here like Wilt Chamberlain, Willis Reed, making that grand.
I'm sorry, unfortunately, I couldn't get a parking space, and somebody parked in the handicap
Oh,
space.
no.
We're gonna need a motion to adjourn.
Yeah,
I'll move it.
we're just having so much fun.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Thank you.